I recognized him as soon as I saw him. The man having lunch with my wife Marcy was Craig Butler, her ex-boyfriend from college 23 years ago. He had once been a brother, always would remain one. I didn't like him then, and I still don't. When I left for work this morning, she didn't talk to anyone about having lunch. I assumed it would be a normal work day for both of us. My name is John Terrell. Everyone calls me the Xerox Man, even though I don't fix them. That's the name I got years ago when the copier was the industry standard. Today I do just about any type of office equipment. I'm not thrilled with the job, but it pays the mortgage and provides for my two daughters' college education. Monday is my normal day in Harrisburg, but sometimes things change. I'm needed urgently at Americo Insurance in Allentown. My regular company truck wasn't needed, so I took the company car. I finished the job faster than I expected and decided to stop by the Outback for a quick lunch. She didn't see me go in or out. I found Marcy's yellow Mustang in the parking lot and waited for them to leave. The white company car was unremarkable, so I had no trouble following them to the neighboring lot. It was a small ranch-style house. He drove his BMW into the garage, and Marcy parked at the street entrance. They got out of their cars and talked for a few minutes in front of the house. She was smiling and laughing. Every once in a while, she would shake her head, no, but she was smiling at the same time. I was parked halfway down the street, but I had a good view. Finally, she kissed him on the cheek and walked back to her car. He waited for a moment and then waved as he walked through the front door. That's when it all went downhill. Marcy opened the car door but didn't get in. She hesitated. She sighed, looking back at the house. It seemed like a long time had passed, but probably only a few seconds. I watched mesmerized as she removed her wedding rings and placed them on the front seat console. She hesitated again, and then removed the earrings. They turned out to be the diamond solitaires I had given her for her last birthday. They too lay in the console, as did her cell phone. She walked slowly to the front door and knocked. I didn't like confrontation, so I decided not to do anything stupid. I slowly walked to my car, removed all my stuff from the center console, and drove home to Reading. In less than an hour, I quit my job and cleaned out my bank account. 2 hours later, I was in Frackville drinking beer with my brother Ken. I had left her rings, earrings, and phone on the kitchen table without a note or explanation. I was sure she would figure it out on her own. I spent the next few days with Ken and his wife trying to drink all the Yuengling in Schuylkill County. Friday morning, I was in Carlisle at the Franklin Driving Institute. 3 months later, I had completed all of my training and apprenticeship requirements and became a fully certified trucker. I easily landed a job with Franklin National's refrigerated division, which provided me with a guaranteed income and a new car to drive. Shortly after leaving, I called Claire, my oldest daughter. I explained to her what had happened, and in return, I received a 5-minute lecture on how insensitive and inconsiderate I had been. I have not contacted either of my daughters since. I bought a new cell phone. I won't bore you with the incredible complexities of interstate trucking. The government regulations and company rules were truly oppressive. And yet, I persevered. I was happy, albeit a little lonely. For the next 2 years, I was able to save most of my paycheck. My needs and expenses were minimal. I visited my brother a few times, but never stayed overnight. Marcy never contacted my brother, nor did he have any information about her condition. It didn't take me long to figure out how to make the most of my time on the road. I participated in various programs at Love's, Pilot Flying J, and Travel Centers of America. The free showers, laundry facilities, and gyms made life a lot easier. I met Norma Langford in Enid, Oklahoma. She was trying to buy gasoline with a credit card that didn't work and swearing like a sailor. Being a gentleman, I asked if I could help her, to which I was quickly told to mind my own business and go to hell. 10 minutes later, I was just starting to enjoy a Chick-fil-A sandwich when she plunked down at my table. "I'm sorry I acted like a bitch back there. Things aren't going well right now, and it wouldn't be fair for me to take my anger out on you or anyone else." I just looked at her and nodded. Norma Jean Langford." She held out her hand, and I half-heartedly shook it in return. "John." After a few minutes, she spoke again. "You offered to help when we were outside. I could really use some help. Does that offer still stand?" What do you need? Could you spare $2 for one of those microwave burritos? I put a 10 on the table. Here, go over to the Chick-fil-A stand and get something decent. Without thinking, she grabbed the 10 and headed for the counter. 5 minutes later, she returned with a tray and handed me $3 grand and change. It took her twice as long to eat as it should have. She was a chatterbox. I finished my lunch and sat down to watch her. It was, to say the least, a little fascinating. Her voice wasn't unpleasant, but it was incessant. She never said anything important, but just chatted non-stop. As unusual as it sounded, it didn't annoy me. Quite the opposite, in fact. For the past 3 years, I had only talked to waitresses. I smiled to myself at the ridiculous things she was saying. When she finished, she picked up her tray and mine and cleared the table. So, John, where are you headed? To Provo. Oh, okay. Can I give you a ride? What about your car? A quick glance showed her still standing in front of the pumps. I don't think she'll make it. Not without gasoline. She didn't answer me. Finally, I stood up and headed for my car. Norma Jean followed me, acting as if I had agreed to her request. I opened the passenger door and she jumped in. She wasn't wearing any clothes or personal belongings. I have no idea what happened to the abandoned car. No, I can't explain it. But later that day, we stopped at Walmart and I bought her a few things: jeans, tops, underwear, and comfortable shoes. It was nice to have someone to talk to, listen to. Norma Jean and I had never had sex or even gotten close. From the beginning, it was a platonic relationship and nothing more. She told me that her husband had died and wouldn't elaborate. She had no children, and her parents lived in retirement in Florida. I told her about my situation with Marcy, and she seemed genuinely interested. Norma Jean slept while I drove, and while I slept, she did the laundry and took care of business in the parking lots. My fuel purchases paid for her showers and periodic workouts at the gym as well as mine. It was a little awkward at first, but then it quickly smoothed out. Several times, Norma Jean asked me why I didn't try to have sex with her. I didn't have a good answer, so I just told her that I thought of her as a sister. She didn't push it. Everything was fine for about 9 months. The only hiccup that occurred was her adamant refusal to enter the state of Pennsylvania. On 2 occasions, I had to drop her off in Hagerstown and pick her up later, and then it was over. I received a message from the main office that seemed somewhat ominous. I was to return as soon as possible for a meeting with the Pennsylvania State Police and a representative of the National Transportation Safety Board. Norma Jean was not happy. She hadn't spoken to me for the past several hours before I dropped her off at a facility in Hagerstown. I promised to pick her up the next day. Mr. Terrell, I'm Detective Naranja with the Pennsylvania State Police, and this is Bill Fritz with the NTSB. As if I was supposed to know what that was. We were in one of the offices at Franklin headquarters. I felt like this was a police interrogation. Mr. Terrell, do you know this woman? Naranja held out a picture of Norma Jean across the desk. Yes, that's Norma Jean. She's my girlfriend. She's been with me for over 9 months now. Why? What do you know about her? Just what she told me. She was married, but her husband died. She has no children and her parents live in Florida. She talks a lot but doesn't say much, if you know what I mean. Anything unusual or strange? Yeah, probably. She doesn't like mayonnaise. She hates county and western music. She likes butter pecan ice cream. We mean character. Bill Fitz tried to blend in. Well, she refuses to enter the state of Pennsylvania. Whenever I have to drive into or through Pennsylvania for work, she asks me to drop her off somewhere. I pick her up later. Is that what you mean? Exactly. Would one of you gentlemen care to explain to me what I'm doing here and exactly what it is you're trying to do? Norma Jean is a good friend of mine, and I don't feel good about putting her on display, especially when I don't know what for. Bill Fitz leaned closer and asked, "Where is she now?" I don't know. I left her at Love's in Hagerstown. Fitz immediately left the room. Naranja brought me a cup of coffee. Norma Jean is suspected of killing 6 people. 5 of them were truckers. The first was her husband. We're baffled that you're still alive. Bullshit. It's a fact, Mr. Terrell. It took a while to connect all the dots, but here's what happened. All 6 died immediately after having sex with Norma Jean. The FBI crime lab was able to collect and compare data